Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Fred Varco, a member of the Professional Activities Committee here. Before we start, can I ask everybody to turn off their telephones or put them to silent mode? I don't think we need any long introductions. Mr. Siam here is ambassador of the Palestine, and we all know what's happening in Palestine and Israel at the moment. So over to you, Mr. Siam.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, first. We did agree to ask a question first about who he actually represents or how he actually represents the people or government of Palestine. Maybe you can explain what you explained to me beforehand.
First, thank you for giving me the opportunity today to talk to the press, so our word can be heard out. I represent the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian people, and I do not represent any other organizations. So make it clear.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead with your speech. Thank you.
Okay. You know, on my way here, I was thinking how to start my speech. And to write down some notes. But I was speechless. Where do I start? What shall I say? Actually, no words that I can say can describe the enormous tragedy, the loss of lives, the destruction. I've been watching on the news for the past 7 days. Regrettably, some see history through a narrow lens, just focusing solely on the recent violence. This crisis did not start October the 7th. This crisis has been going on since 1948. This crisis is due to that the Palestinians for the past years have been under Israeli military occupation. That's not new, but nobody talks about it. For the past years, decades actually, we have been under the mercy of the Israeli military army. We are under the mercy of the illegal settlers, Israeli settlers, coming, taking us out of our homes, taking our lands. I haven't heard anything in the news. But when something happens in a certain area, the whole world looks at it, but they forget the core problem. Please, let it be known that the core problem, what's happening today, is not because of today or yesterday. It goes back in history. The Palestinians have been under Israeli military occupation. Ask the Israelis, why are you continuing the military occupation of Palestinians? What right do they have? Over 1,000 United Nations Security Council and General Assembly, International Court, human rights have made resolutions for Israel. None has been complied. But any other country that doesn't comply with the United Nations resolutions, hell goes down on them. But Israel is protected by the international community that calls for freedom and liberty for all, that calls for democracy, that calls for the end of violence. Those are the same people that are biased and double standard when it comes to the Palestinian being occupied by the Israeli military forces. It is really pathetic, and allow me to say, really pathetic, that we hear many voices from the West, leaders, unfortunately. As I've read today from the President of France, that calls on Israel to bombard Gaza more. Or Mrs. Nikki something that is running for the President of the United States that says, destroy them. This kind of narrative, encouraging Israel to continue on completing destruction of Gaza, actually dismantling 2.2 million Palestinians living in Gaza. You don't know what Gaza is. Gaza is 365 kilometers. It is bordered with Egypt and Israel and the Mediterranean Sea. 2.2 million, 70% of them are refugees from 1948, 1967. They went refugee into Gaza. 50% of them are children. 70% are under poverty line. They have been under closure and strict rules by the Israeli military for the past 17 years. They have a 65 kilometers wall around them. Food is given to them when they are hungry. Water is given to them when they know that it's the last drop that will keep them alive. That's how what Gaza is. Gaza is a big concentration camp. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to really see what Gaza is. Gaza is not a military base. Gaza is the biggest jail in modern history. Yet, the media treats Gaza as if it's going to destroy the whole world. Just before I came in, it was 1,558 Palestinians that have been killed. 60% are women and children. I don't see pictures of those people dead. I only see on some news agencies this morning, the anchor is crying because of a picture of a child that was killed in Israel. Well, look at the Palestinians too. Treat us equally. This violence has to stop on both sides. We condemn unequivocally the violence on both sides, on the Palestinian side and on the Israeli side. And we condemn also Israel and its allies on the narrative of war and destruction of the Palestinian population in Gaza. The heavy bombardment that we have seen and we are watching in Gaza, so far 8,000 tons of bombing of a population of citizens in Gaza. 4,000 tons. Jesus Christ. I mean, we are not World War II. And the other thing is, I haven't read in the news, and you have not written about it, is the usage of Israel of forbidden weapons. white phosphorus bombs that comes down and burns everybody around it. It's forbidden by international law. But Israel is using it on a daily basis. I didn't see anybody crying out and say, this is against international law. This is a war crime. Why? Are you killing animals? Wild animals? Do you agree with the Minister of Defense of Israel when he said, we are fighting human animals? That's what he said the other day. We are fighting human animals. I didn't see the news saying, this statement is not acceptable. This is anti-Semitic, because we are Semitic too. This is unhuman. No. The Israelis can say whatever they want. If I say today that the Israelis are animals too, Jesus Christ, tomorrow morning everybody will call me anti-Semitic, and God knows what they will call me, a terrorist. Israel is using today hydrogen depth bomb. It's called TDB-U-22. Do you know what they use this? They use them in a war between state and state. Welcome. Israel is a state. Gaza is a non-state actor. It's not a state. It's a big camp. It's a big jail. It's like me going, somebody go bomb a jail. They can go nowhere. That's what you call fighting for freedom? That's what you call the fighting whatever you want? Also, there's a new bomb that has been thrown on Gaza this morning. It's called the MOAB, vacuum bomb. That was a depth bomb. This is a vacuum bomb. When it comes down, it destroys the whole neighborhood. Who is the casualty? Children, women, men, humans. Humans like you and me. Really humans. But there is no one tear on those humans. Why? Ask yourselves. This is carpet bombing that is going on in Gaza. Without any doubt, I can say, and I challenge the media, this is a genocide of the 21st century. Not because Israel lost 1,000 people, and I'm sorry for that. And my heart goes out for all the victims. It doesn't mean you should kill 2.2 million in return. You should destroy a whole 365 square meters of population just to get your goddamn revenge. This is outrageous revenge by the Israeli military forces. Should be unacceptable. Where's the international law? Where is the countries that they call for the law of rule? No, they gave Israel a green light. Bomb them. Wipe them out. One official in the Israeli Knesset yesterday, she said, nuke them. Ah, thank you for saying that. Now we know that Israel has a nuclear bomb. So come on, nuke us. Gaza today is a graveyard. And this grave is getting bigger and larger every second. I don't want to take so much time, but I want to tell you in conclusion. There is a talk right now, and you can check your sources, that Israel and its allies plans not only to destroy Hamas. Hamas is only 30,000 people. You know? And you want to know who is Hamas? I'll show you who is Hamas. In Japanese, I'll put it out. Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. This is what Netanyahu told the Likud Party Knesset members in March 2019. This is part of our strategy. This is the Haaretz, Israeli newspaper, that has talked what Netanyahu has said. Netanyahu has always supported Hamas in another way. Their plan is to transfer almost 1 million Palestinians out of Gaza. Maybe through Egypt, maybe through ships, and transfer them to different countries. Of course, we refused. The population of Gaza refused to leave. I just heard one guy said, I lost my family, the whole family. I lost my house. I lost my life, everything. I'm not leaving here. I'm going to go back to my rumpled house, destroyed home, and I'm going to sit in it. And if I'm going to die, I'm going to die in my home. So they will not leave. But then, Israel has said, by Saturday, which is tomorrow, if nothing came to agreement for them to leave, they will wipe out Gaza completely. And mark my words. Check your sources. Go after what Secretary Blinken is saying to other countries. Check it out. If this happens, I think the media will love it, because this could cause a war in a region. And again, I want to say, we are condemning the killing and targeting of all civilians from both sides, and a necessity for all parties to spare all civilians, prisoners, detainees. We also reject terrorizing citizens and representing them as corpses, including the killing of children and women, considering it a violation of religion, ethics, and all international law, which our Palestinian people and our leadership does not accept. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, we'll open the floor to questions. And if you have a question, come up to the microphone, state your name and your affiliation. First gentleman here.
Thank you very much, Nishimura Freelance. The Japanese government expressed serious concern about the situation in Israel and Gaza. And it accused attacks against the innocent people, and they hope to contact with both Israel and Palestinian. So what do you think about the response of the Japanese government on this issue? Are you satisfied with that? And when you say Israel and its allies, do you include Japan in the allies of Israel? Thank you.
Thank you. He's trying to make me fall in a trap of saying the countries. The Palestinian people and its leadership highly regards Japan's friendship to the Palestinian people. Japan has been a real good friend for the Palestinian people through the years. Actually, before Japan was accepted at the United Nations as a member, Japan started helping the UNRWA, which is for the Palestinian refugees, since 1953 until today. So Japan is highly regarded in Palestine. I do believe that Japan is a neutral and can continue on playing a neutral rule between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I don't think that America, the United States, can play that role anymore. I think it should be shifted to Japan, Asian countries, and some other European countries, because we believe, and I believe personally, that Japan can play a very effective role. As to the allies, read the news, and you can know who the allies are. You can hear the voices that calls for the destruction of Gaza. Those are the allies. Japan has never called for the destruction of Gaza. Japan has always called for human rights, for respecting international law, for respecting United Nations resolutions, and the protections of all citizens. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, any more questions from the floor? Okay, a simple one, Sam said, very simple question.
Sure.
When you first heard about the attack or saw it on TV, what was your initial reaction? How did you react?
Well, I was worried about my family.
Yeah, who are in Gaza, right?
In Gaza, and my wife's family in Gaza. Actually, our house has been destroyed, and my wife's family and our family and friends are running from one place to a place to hide, and some of them are losing they lost their homes actually last night, some of them, and I hope that at the end, like this Palestinian said on TV this morning, we don't care anymore. If we're going to die, we're going to die. If we live, we're going to live. But we're not leaving this place. As people give up. When you have 4,000 tons of bombs coming on your head, bombing the whole neighborhoods, and then you ask them why, they said, oh, there was a terrorist behind it. How in the hell did you know there was a terrorist in the building when you didn't see that they were coming to attack you? That kind of narrative is naive, unacceptable. Like I said, what's going on is carpet bombing Gaza. Completely trying to destroy it. It's like one time Rabin, the former prime minister of Israel that was killed by an Israeli radical, said, I hope one day I wake up there is no Gaza. And I think the leadership of Israel continues on thinking that way. But I can tell you one thing for today. Gaza will never disappear. Never, ever.
Okay, you half answered the question. My question was, when you first saw the reports of the attack by Hamas on Israel, what was your initial reaction? Knowing also that you have to represent Palestine in Japan.
Well, I prayed. That was my reaction. I prayed that this will not escalate to what it has escalated today.
Okay, and beyond that, question that possibly everyone is asking is, why this attack? Why now? And why in this way?
Ask the Israelis. Don't ask me. I tell you why.
Why?
I tell you why. I want you to ask the Israelis this. Why do you continue punishment of Gaza for the past 17 years? Why do you continue on occupying the Palestinians for the past 75 years? Why do you allow illegal settlements to continue on Palestinian land? Ask the Israelis. Ask them, why do you allow to bring in money for Hamas every month? Through your airport, through your banks, and through your borders. Ask the Israelis. Huh? Ask them. Why? They accept $40 million every month to Hamas. Ask them. Ask them how you control the sea and the air and the borders, and Hamas bring in weapons. How? One statement from a Israeli military statement said, some of the weapons we have found was supposed to go to Ukraine. That means it's sold on the black market. From Israel. Ask the Israelis. How come Hamas people have an M16? How come they have the bullets, it has Hebrew on it? Ask them how come these weapons have all Hebrew numbers on them? It has military numbers on them. Ask the Israelis. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't represent them. They didn't tell me. But ask the Israelis that control the area. I don't control the area. I was kicked out as a Palestinian authority in 2007 out of Gaza.
Go ahead.
Yallah.
John Getty from Reuters news agency. The Israeli ambassador to Japan spoke yesterday about Japan needing to be more vigilant about the aid that it is sending to the Palestinian people. He also showed a photograph, which he said showed a kidnapped Israeli next to some bags containing Japanese humanitarian aid. Are you concerned at all that Japan may take any measures to halt the assistance that it gives to the Palestinian people? And have you had any discussions with Japan since the crisis began, and what were the nature of those discussions? Thank you.
I do believe that Japan has a heart. It will not punish the civilians and the innocent people and still give them humanitarian aid. Because other countries have hearts of stone. Japan, hopefully, and I plea for the Japanese to continue on humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. I don't know how they got that bag. You said an Israeli had that bag? Or?
No, sorry, the picture supposedly showed, it's been shared widely on social media, but it showed a kidnapped Israeli by Hamas next to what was said to be...
Oh, yeah. That bag is full of sand. It's not full of that. It doesn't mean that they're using it because of Japan and all that. I mean, that's really the lowest of social media usage. Because if they're going to go that low, that means they have nothing to say, unfortunately. Because if I want to show you what I have of the media, of their own people, as I showed you today, that Netanyahu here supports Hamas. Where is it? And so many things, but I don't want to go that low. I won't step down to that level.
And discussions with the Japanese government?
We are discussing with the Japanese government, and I think we are getting, they will continue their humanitarian aid to the Palestinians.
Okay, thank you. Gentleman over there.
Kawasaki Independent. Mr. Ambassador, what is the publicity strategy? Do you have any instruction from the Palestinian Authority headquarters in Ramallah? What is the Japanese mission is going to do from now? Thank you.
You mean what's my government is instructing me to talk to the Japanese? Show the facts. Not the media crap, sorry, social media crap or fake news. It's just telling them exactly what's going on. And we have been doing that on an hour-to-hour basis. And their representative in Ramallah is also getting all the information. But I didn't hear that from the Japanese media that JICA office in Gaza was destroyed or hit. Nobody wrote about it. You know, JICA office was hit by the Israelis. I think that was a better news than the bag. But I didn't see anything written about it. So we are in, my instruction is to keep them informed about everything daily by day. Yes.
George?
My name is Baumgartner. I'm working for Swiss television. Can you please explain the connection between Hamas and the Israeli, and also the accusation of Iran being also behind Hamas? Can you please explain?
Sure.
Thank you.
In the first, I'll be very short because I don't want to take a long time. In 1987, with the first Intifada, Rabin, as the Minister of Defense at that time, decided to find and to formate an organization to replace the PLO as the sole representation of the Palestinians, because the PLO was outside and he wanted an organization under the occupation that he can control. He arrested all Islamic Brotherhood leaders, put them on the borders of Lebanon. They went out, and then they were allowed to come back. When they came back, it was an organization called Hamas. Hamas was a very small organization, religious organization. When we signed the Oslo Agreement, which Hamas is not part of the PLO, let me make that clear. Hamas is not part of the Palestinian Authority. Did not agree with the peace agreement of Oslo. But its leader at that time, Sheikh Yassin, he was a crippled man that barely can talk, came out and said that we will agree on a 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital, and we will have a ceasefire with the Israelis for the next 50 to 100 years. That was before Hamas changed its policies. So, unfortunately, weeks after that, he was coming out of the mosque at 4:30 in the morning. Israel sent a helicopter, shot him with 2 bombs that scattered his body into small parts. Huh? Nobody wrote about it. Wheelchaired man killed by 2 bombs. Of course, radicalism started in that organization. In 2005, after the assassination, 2004, after the assassination of Arafat by the Israelis, we had election, 2005. Abu Mazen was elected. and we called for election. The Americans came to us and said, you have to have an election, democratic election, and the Western countries. We said, yes, of course. Please allow Hamas to be part of that election. I said, what? Hamas is not part of the PLO. It's not part of the Palestinian Authority. And it's against the Oslo Agreement. But George Bush and his administration insisted on allowing Hamas to enter the elections. Even though we told them that we will lose the election. But the Americans pressured us. We had the election. It was a democratic election. Jimmy Carter, God give him health, was there. And he said, it was a really democratic, straightforward election. Hamas won the majority in our Congress. Then we made a unity government. It was from all factions, PLO factions and non-PLO factions, including Hamas. At that time, the United States came out clearly, and this is George Jr., said, yes, it was a democratic process, but we don't accept the democratic results because the people that were elected are considered terrorists. See what the double standard is? First they said, bring them in, and now bring them out. And they cut all aid to the Palestinians. We don't know how to deal with the unity government. We had disagreed on the way the unity government is going. 2006 in the morning, Hamas takes over Gaza. Now, I want you something to think about. We have don't say that. We have every intelligence agency in Gaza at that time. We have satellites over Gaza 24/7. Right? When Hamas took over, nobody told us that they were going to take over. Suddenly, there was no intelligence and the satellites was not working. Apparently, then, Hamas took over. We tried, the Palestinian Authority, we tried to sit down and talk with Hamas on many occasions. In Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, in other countries. Turkey was involved, Saudi Arabia was involved, Qatar was involved, many countries was involved to bring the Palestinians together. But at the end we disagreed because our ideology is completely different from their ideology. Their ideology is more religious, more aggressive, I guess. But our ideology is peaceful. We signed a peace agreement with Israel called the Oslo, and we have not reached a peace, but we still continue in believing there will be a path for peace. Now, Hamas, again to the question that Netanyahu, WikiLeaks, a lot of WikiLeaks, if you read WikiLeaks, I think the head of the Israeli intelligence said that we'll be very happy if Hamas takes over Gaza, because then we don't have a partner in peace. Then we can say, who should we talk to, the Palestinian Authority or the Hamas in Gaza? And meanwhile, the Israelis continue on making the Palestinian Authority as weak as possible. And how? Incursions into the West Bank, Jenin, Qalqilia, Hebron, Ramallah, everywhere, on a daily basis, going into homes, blowing up houses, arresting people, shooting kids. Actually, I'm surprised that nobody called me this year before here, because since January 2023 until October the 6th, over 280 Palestinian civilians were killed in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. 120 homes were completely destroyed in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. East Jerusalem, Sheikh Jarrah, when the Israeli settlers attacked the Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah, nobody asked me to come and do a press conference. No? All this was going, this all weakened the Palestinian Authority. And Israel continues on weakening the Palestinian Authority. So now, what's happening, maybe 2 days, 3 days ago, is between Hamas and Israel. But now, it's between the occupation Israel against the Palestinian population in Gaza, the Palestinian population in the West Bank. Now, الإبادة. إيش الإبادة؟ نسيت أنا كلمة الإبادة. ها؟ Genocide. Annihilation of the Palestinians. That's where it has come from. And you can read, you can go on the media. There is some good media, believe me, and read about it. Thank you.
Please.
It's Kana from Nikkei, Japanese newspaper. Thank you for your speech. And you condemned the violence from both sides, from Israel and Hamas. And in this situation, what do you think is the role of your government? What do you think you can do to stop this crisis? Thank you.
If Israel ends the occupation, maybe we can do something about it. My president cannot move from Ramallah to Jordan without getting a permission from the Israeli military. He has to request with the names of the people that he's traveling and the names of, so all Palestinians, the movement of Palestinians under the occupation is very difficult. At this time, all we can do is call for a ceasefire, is calling to protect the Palestinian civilians and the Israeli civilians on both sides. We're asking also for an open humanitarian road, that we can bring in food, medicine, electricity, and water to the Palestinians in Gaza. You know, I want to thank you for your question. I want to show you the double standard in this Western leadership. The head of the EU, President of the EU Commission, Layers, she stated, targeted attacks on civilians' infrastructure with a clear aim to cut off men, women, and children of water, electricity, and heating with the winter coming, those are acts of pure terror. She said that, not for Palestine. She said that for Ukraine. That's how double standard they are. What, Ukrainians are humans and we're not humans? But then, according to her statement, which she is an official European commissioner, what Israel is doing today, cutting water, electricity, and heating and food, those are acts of pure terror. What more can I say?
Go ahead.
Yoshio Hota, freelance journalist. Thank you for coming to the club today.
Thank you.
For some decades, United States has taken some roles to stabilize the region, but President Biden hasn't shown strong leadership to this crisis yet. So how do you see the end result of this crisis? Do you think United States still can do anything to make the situation better?
Thank you for your question. I'm going to count to 10 before I answer your question. Stabilize? In which way? Afghanistan is not stabilized. Libya is not stabilized. Iraq is not stabilized. Yemen is not stabilized. Lebanon is not stabilized. Syria is not stabilized. And you think that Israel and Palestine is going to be stabilized? No. How can they want to stabilize peace in the area when they're sending Ford and Roosevelt war carriers to the Mediterranean? And they're sending specialists in destroying, and no, not destroying, in what they call urban fighting, helping the Israelis to learn how to fight in the urban fighting, which is fighting the Palestinians. Stabilize? Unstabilize, yes. That's the right word. The only way to stabilize the Middle East, the only way to stabilize the region is ending Israeli military occupation, is bringing Israel to comply with international law, with the United Nations resolutions. I said it we said it millions of times, but nobody is listening. Okay. United Nations Security Council and resolution, I think we have, how many so far? 1,000. 754 General Assembly, United Nations Security Council 97, United Nations Human Rights 96, 43 American vetoes in favor of Israel. This shows you stabilization? No. As long as Israel is protected from conforming to the international law, Israel is free to do whatever they want. End occupation, give me a two-state solution, which the United States has called for, Japan has called for, every country in the world has called for. Two-state solution, Palestinian state and Israeli state. There is an Israeli state. We recognize the Israeli states. We respect the Israeli state. But they have not recognized the Palestinians. If you read what their leaders, including Netanyahu, there is no Palestine. There is no Palestinian state. And without a Palestinian state, believe me, there will never be any stability.
Thank you. Gentleman there.
My name is Kondo from Kodansha Publishing Company. My question is very simple. How do you expect the China's role next week? The Belt and Road Summit will be held in Beijing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not specialist on the Chinese thing, but I welcome and we welcome any country in this world that wants to interfere to stop the bloodshed in Palestine. Others said even the devil, if he comes and he wants to help the bloodshed to stop, we welcome him. So we welcome any country that really wants to stop the bloodshed.
Gentleman at the back.
Hello, Ambassador. Tanaka from Keio University. I teach Middle East politics. Simple question. Following the so-called Abraham Accord, now amongst the Arab neighbors and friends and brothers, you have countries like Morocco, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain that have official relationship with Israel. Do you expect any one of these to play a mediating role between the Palestinians and Israel? Thank you.
Thank you. I hope so. But unfortunately, this ultra-right religious wing government headed by Netanyahu, unfortunately, will not accept any calls from any other countries. The only countries they accept is the countries that encourage them on the continual destruction of Gaza. And he will not listen to anyone because he's in a rage of revenge. You can hear him on the TV, the range of revenge in his words. We'll see if the Abraham Accord works. This is the crossroad for the Abraham Accord. If they cannot really use their friendship with Israel to stop the destruction, then it will fail. Complete failure of the Abrahamian. Even though I disagree on the name of Abrahamian, because the conflict between Palestinians and the Israelis is not a religious at all. This is not a religious war. Quote unquote, this is not a religious war. They want to make it a religious war. This is a conflict for a land that has been under Israeli military occupation for a long, long time.
Connected to that, one report said that Hamas was prompted by Iran to attack Israel to stop Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel. A, can you comment on that? And B, do you have any problem with these Saudi Arabia and other countries recognizing Israel?
Thank you. I'll go for the second question. We respect the interests of any country, and we do not mingle in their own interior policies. For your first question, I don't think Iran has anything to do with this. I have no proof. But I want to see my own opinion. Stop. I like this word the other day, and I want to use it again and again and again. Stop scaremongering. Iran and Iran and Iran and Iran. Palestinians are terrorists and all that stuff. That's scaremongering. Labels unacceptable. I don't know what they do. Ask the Iranians, not me. He has a question over there.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Seth Robson from Stars and Stripes. The Israeli ambassador earlier compared Hamas to the Islamic State group. I was just wondering if you thought that was a fair comparison.
Compare Hamas to what?
Islamic State, ISIS.
ISIS. Who created ISIS? That's my answer. Look who created the answer, and you will know who they are.
Okay, please.
Hi, Mara Bhajan from the Japan Times. I just want to kind of bring the discussion back to Japan a little bit. How many Palestinians are living in Japan, and has the community in any way mobilized in response to the latest events? Thank you very much.
Oh, I love Japan Times. That's why today I read the newspaper, I didn't see anything on the Palestinian opinion. I saw the Israeli ambassador's picture on the first page, but you didn't put anything about the Palestinian side. That shows how Japan Times is really neutral. If you have that questions, please give that questions to the Ministry of Immigration of Japan, and they can give you the numbers of the Palestinians here. I don't have that numbers.
What about any mobilization from the community?
I refuse to take a question from Japan Times at this time, due to not being neutral in covering the coverage on what's happening in Gaza.
Point of information, the last thing I wrote for the Japan Times 20 years ago was an article pro-Palestinian, if you read it 20 years ago.
Well, 20 years ago, maybe somebody bought it after 20 years or changed their mind.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. There's one here from Yuto Sugiki from the Yomiuri Shimbun, saying the Israeli government is urging civilians in Gaza to evacuate to the south. What are your thoughts on this point?
That's what I said at the end of my speech. This is the plan to evacuate all citizens of Palestine in Gaza out of Gaza so they can completely destroy it and take them to different Arab countries and spread them out. So the refugees of 1948 and 67, second, third, fourth, and fifth, maybe sixth generation right now, they want them to be another refugees in the 21st century. That's unacceptable. Imagine, Eddie, I don't know how you can imagine. I lived in Gaza and I saw how the Israelis do. They call you and say, hello, we're going to come and bomb your house. Please leave the house. You know, I don't know how the world accept that. Okay, each one of you think about it. If somebody calls your house and say, hello, please get out of your house, I'm going to bomb it. What will you do? Would you accept that? Why should we accept it? And now they're not saying, we're going to bomb your house. No, we're saying, leave the country because we're going to blow up the whole country. Where is the free world? Where is the democratic world? Where is the world of law? Where is the world that calls for freedom? Where it calls for humanity? Where is this world that calls for peace? Where is this world? When it comes to the Palestinian, the world looks different.
Okay, we're nearly out of time. I have one more comment, and you may laugh at this, judging by your previous answer. United Nations, can they play any role? And who can secure militarily the borders for Palestine?
If you want me to tell you what the solution is, very easy. First of all, end Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories. Second, bring in international forces that can be as a border between the Palestinians and the Israelis. It's like we had Syria and Israel for 15, 20 years by the Japanese forces. You know, it's very simple to do it. But Israel doesn't want that. That's one. The second thing, United Nations, the United Nations Security Council, as I've heard from the Japanese government, and they're trying to change the Security Council. It's time for the United Nations to be overhauled. You can't keep those countries sitting on the Security Council and doing whatever they want. It's time for other countries to join the Security Council. It's time for Palestine to join the United Nations and be recognized as a state. Because when you don't recognize the Palestine as a state, you are giving the permission to Israel to continue on military occupation of Palestinian territories. 134 countries has recognized Palestine. Where's the other countries? Are you afraid? When you don't recognize it, you send a clear message to Israel. Continue your military occupation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador Siam. And we are done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other people are reporting, so I hope these people do.
I hope so too.